Richland County and the Park Service is where the funding, the extra funding, came from. But who actually did the renovation?
We've had, basically the renovation was in two different phases. In the first phase, we knew that we had some logs that were deteriorated that needed to be replaced. And we actually needed to go out and hire some people that were professionals that have done that type of work on a daily basis. So we hired out Holder Brothers Timbers to actually do some of the log replacement, take out some of the rotten logs and replace with hand-hewn logs.
Were those the fellows I didn't recognize who were over there in civilian clothes that knew how to use tools?
They did, yes, sir. It was really a neat process to watch them to actually hew the logs and to how they would jack the building up to replace the logs and take old logs out. So it was a neat process. It really was.
Not just any company could do that.
That's right. So that was the first phase was mainly through them replacing the logs. We had to, as far as the park staff goes, we had to do a good bit of work on taking out the old chinking, the old daubing, and things like that to prepare the building to where they could, remove the logs that were in need of repair.
Well, often when I'd walk by, I'd see park personnel, including you, over there. You folks worked on it too,
we did.
You?
Yes, sir. We did a good bit of the work. Like I mentioned, we took out all the old daubing and chinking in there. We replaced all placed it with new daubing and chinking. That was done by park staff here. We did a lot of the logs that didn't have to be replaced, that did have a small amount of deterioration on them. We actually did a lot of the wood epoxy work and things like that to preserve the wood. So we did a good bit of the work as well. The porches that you see on it, those were actually built from our central maintenance staff for the Park Service, so they did the porches on it.
Well, that's a big improvement on it, and won't that help it last a little longer?
It will, yeah. We actually, for the roof, we did a little bit more of an overhang than the building had to try to keep the water from running back on the building. We ended up removing a lot of the shrubs that were around the building, so we wouldn't have splashback from rain back onto the building. The porches, both porches have a roof over them, so that is basically keeping water off of the logs, from halfway down the building to the ground, keeping the water off the logs. So yeah, it would definitely help it last longer.
And that's a big house, a 2-story, 4-room house built that way is quite a substantial.
It really is, yeah, it's big.
What were some of the unexpected things that you found as you and your colleagues here at the park and the organization that was contracting to help? What were some of the things that you found as you were doing this you didn't expect?
We really didn't have a whole lot of things that we didn't expect. The company that we hired to do the log replacement, they had a tool that is called a resistograph, and they would not drill into the wood, but it would tell them how deteriorated the log is, even if you couldn't see it on the outside, if there was deterioration on the inside. So that was kind of neat to see, because some of the logs that we thought were going to need to be replaced didn't need to be replaced, and some of them that we thought that were good actually had to be replaced. So that was kind of neat to see that. The only other thing that really that we kind of weren't prepared for is the amount of time that it takes to actually do some of this type work on the building. So that was one of the things we would try to stay on a timeline for completing the work, and it would go over because of the amount of time and staff that we had to work on the building.
And that took staff away from other things here in the park, I imagine.
Yes, sir.
That's
a
your
balancing act.